We have Nick and Kelsey from the University of Iowa Foundation, and I had the privilege of speaking with them at the APRA National Conference in sunny, warm Phoenix, Arizona in August of this year. And they were phenomenal. They killed it. It was the biggest session of the conference, and so they're coming to do an update on what they shared there, how they're taking a proactive approach to prospect discovery, how they're listening to interest and passing those leads on to major gift officers. They're super smart, they're super fun. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Nick and Kelsey to the stage.
My name is Kelsey Parman. I'm a Senior Prospect Management Analyst for the University of Iowa Center for Advancement, where I have been about 5.5 years in the prospect management realm. I work with teams supporting our healthcare science colleges, as well as some grateful patient units. I've also dabbled a little bit in corporate and foundation relations, and for the last year have been the lead on the Ever True project.
Thank you. I'm Nick, data scientist with the Center for Advancement. My main area of focus has really been on supporting and understanding how we can use engagement data to understand our populations better. And so I've been working very closely with our initiatives with EverTrue. And I think what we're really going to talk about today is not as much about meeting the people out there. We're going to certainly highlight some of our success stories, but also consider how do you change your own internal organization to sort of begin to leverage these tools and think about those things in this manner. And so that's one of our areas of focus for today.
All right, so I'll give you a little bit of background about our organization so you kind of know what was happening when we adopted EverTrue and where we're at right now. So we're a separate fundraising organization from the University of Iowa. We've got about 250 full-time employees, which includes 70 to 80 frontline development officers. Surprise, that number will be growing as we are entering a capital campaign, but that is where we are right now. In 2017, our president, Bruce Harold, came to meet with us at a surprise meeting and let us know that we would be merging our University of Iowa Alumni Association with our University of Iowa Foundation to create the University of Iowa Center for Advancement. That was an exciting and scary time, wondering what this new organization was going to look like, what were we going to do, what was our mission going to be, but mostly it afforded us a lot of opportunities to start working with new people in our organization and across campus. So at this same time in 2017, we hired an AVP of data analytics, and he came to us from the for-profit world, and his really goal was to create this data-informed culture that would, have better decision-making capabilities. All the way from annual giving, who should we solicit, to HR, how many fundraisers do we need for our next capital campaign? We saw opportunities for data to help us with all of this. So he built out this team. Nick was hired around that time. And we then merged prospect development, data analytics to create a single unit. We're all reporting up to the AVP of data analytics. So in our first 2 years together, we've kind of hit the ground running and put our projects in these 3 buckets here. We've spent a lot of time optimizing our development officers' time. Their time is our most valuable resource. They are our best stars. So how can we help them by getting better metrics for them, by optimizing their portfolios and focusing their time? Also, as a new engagement organization, what were our goals? How could we measure if we were engaging with our alumni from the minute they graduated until maybe someday they would make a gift, but maybe it's okay if they don't? Like, how can we support all people across their lifetime? So that is what we'll be focusing on today. And then obviously, in the world we live in, we're doing a lot of automation and building our own capacity within our teams. So we had a lot of skill. We hired these data scientists. We had a lot of projects to do, but we knew the engagement piece was something we were going to have to hire somebody or get a partner in the marketplace to do that. And surprise, it was EverTrue. So we got a contract with them about 2 years ago, and Nick and I were kind of tasked with, make this work, everybody, make this work. So we had a power users group, is what we call, that met every other week. There were 6 people on that team that represented different teams within the organization. We represented data analytics, we had digital communications, annual giving, alumni engagement, and our IT colleagues there too. So we really had the breadth of knowledge and expertise. And also, all of those people were going back to their teams and talking about the projects we were doing and maybe some excitement that was building. We tested a lot of things. We did annual giving appeals. We did a telefund reactivation project. We used Facebook engagement to target new social media ambassadors. It's called the Social Hawks program we have. That beat the Facebook algorithm significantly, saving us some money, so we were excited about that. Our events team has been able to create some really custom and thoughtful event invitations around different events, which Nick is going to talk about a little bit later. But our biggest ROI has been in prospect development in my shop where I'm working, and in sort of my first year, I was sort of a quarter side project, so we're really excited that we've got 15 new prospects in qualification and 2 major gift solicitations already out for this product. Just some stats here. We've got 1 in 5 in our alumni tracked via Evertrue on Facebook, and 1 in 3 we've got their LinkedIn data as well in our instance.
So one of the things that you heard in Kelsey's introduction to the organization, that there's been a lot of change going on. So our alumni association was eliminated and rolled into our former foundation. We brought in this new outside operation of our data analytics that was trying to change the culture a little bit and shake up some processes. And so there's been some skepticism, and dealing with change is a very big challenge. And so from our development staff, Kelsey's not just sent 15 major gift prospects, but probably near 60. And we've struggled to get action from some of the development officers. It's a new process. They're happy with what they're doing. And so how do you meet them where they are, and how do you convince them to try something new and find new opportunities and reach that new audience? Some of our super users have had similar struggles. They have a process. Our annual giving department is a major operation. They need to send out hundreds of thousands of solicitations every year. They have a clear calendar built out, and they've struggled with figuring out ways to actually use the tool, but we're working on that. And we've had some skeptics on campus about sharing those Facebook pages with us. You know, we partnered with Evertrue right around the time that unfortunate scandal with Facebook broke, and so there's been a lot of questions around, how are you using the data? What are you getting with this data? And so we've had to manage some of those expectations and have some of those conversations. Some of them have been successful, some of them have not been quite as successful. And so through dealing with some of these adversities, we've really taken the strategy of who are the partners out there who are raising their hand and saying, yes, I want to work with you, and athletics is going to be one of those partners. They've come to us early before we had Evertrue, and so we're going to highlight one of those projects. They had an opportunity when we just established Evertrue to sort of demonstrate the worth of it, and then their fundraisers have been very open and happy to be working with Kelsey. And so it's really, really a good opportunity to sort of show, okay, yeah, doing this is going to be a different process, and so there's going to be some skepticism, and so who do you find to really work with you? And so we'll walk through several of those instances. So the first story is Kinnick Stadium is where our Hawkeyes play. It's our big stadium. 2 years ago, they recently renovated our north end zone stands, and they rebuilt it, nice new seat backs and everything instead of being the bleachers. But obviously, that's a very expensive campaign. This is the top priority for the athletics fundraisers to fulfill this campaign. I think they're actually getting very near closing it today, actually. So this was their top priority, is a large number. They were going to do a direct mail solicitation to support this programming because most of the funds that they've raised were through major gifts. And so they came to us to say, hey, is there anything you guys are new? Can you help us with this? And so that's where we came in. So the plan was they're going to build a recognition plaque at the stadium. They had 2 recognition levels, $5,000 and $10,000, which are sizable for a direct mail campaign. And so they had some people that they've recommended, but it came in at fewer than 1,000 people. And they had ambitious goals for this project. And so they said, can you help us identify more people to be able to do this? And so I was brand new at the organization, eager and ambitious to show off our predictive analytics abilities, and so I said yes, so let's try and do that. And so the next page highlights some of what we did. So I deployed some predictive analytics. That's the fancy chart up there. So to identify people who look willing to give over $1,000. But I also leveraged some engagement data. This is before Evertrue, so we didn't have Facebook, but we did have a wealth of data about who's buying football tickets. So are they a season ticket? buyer? Which part of the stadium are they sitting in? Are they a single game ticket buyer? Do they actually travel to away games? And so I pulled in that information along with some of the information about how are they contributing to athletics. Do they contribute to capital campaigns, scholarships, name funds, all those other areas? And so I merged these three things together and identified 13,000 people. 64% of those people had actually bought football tickets. 66% of the dollars actually contributed within that population was to athletics. And so I was able to, with these three tools, really focus in on this population's true passion and interest. And so just using that data to be able to focus that in. Some of the results of this engagement-driven segmentation. So I was actually successful just using my predictive model to identify 3 and 4 of those people that they had already identified. So we could have just adopted this approach and had very good success. Of the people that both athletics and I had identified versus the people that athletics identified alone, so that 1 in 4 people that I did not identify, that overlapping population contributed at twice the frequency. And so we were able to both mutually find the really good people that were really eager and ambitious to contribute to this. 95% of the dollars that were raised by people that were identified through data analytics. So that 1 in 4 population, they really didn't contribute all that much. And so we could really begin to leverage this data-driven approach to identify a very adequate and successful population. And then by partnering with us, we were actually to expand the overall dollars raised by 75%. So it was quite a successful campaign, and it really demonstrated our worth to the team that, yes, maybe this is someone that you could trust and work with. And so, but one takeaway off of that. So this stuff is not the magic bullet. Obviously, we all know that. Giving is still the best signal for who's going to give next. But so I did try a test, plopped 2,000 people into our segmentations that were just prior ticket buyers. We had some capacity information. Not very effective, just one gift. So you have to continue to think about what are other things out there, and just one signal is usually just not enough. So the next thing is, this is some of the backstory on where this event came from. So Iowa's women's athletic program has been struggling with some controversies around discrimination, bias lawsuits, and some accusations along those lines. 2017, they settled some lawsuits to hopefully to set that chapter aside. And so then they've begun to do some work to rebuild the brand and reputation of the women's program. And so one of their initiatives is this Herky's brunch. Herky is our mascot, and so they're nice little play on words there. They're trying to bring women supporter of the Iowa athletics together to really think about how can we rebuild this brand and collaborate and network together. And so they started